Well, hello my lovelies, it's Murky Meg here. It's Friday the 27th of November, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the aftermath of the New York Times essay that Meghan Markle did. Now, if you haven't seen my previous video, please go back. I popped a link in the top right hand corner. Now, the dust has settled and my mind is a little bit clearer, and I've had time to digest, to think, to reason, and to be able to come back to you guys with a couple more thoughts about the situation. We've also had some very interesting articles that have been released on the back of this. Now, I am probably one of the few in our side of the camp that actually believed an element of this actually happened. I mean, no doubt that this happened, but what I'm questioning very heavily is for two people that have been so private. This is very, very public. I can understand, and I am one of those people, and I can understand and justify why people believe that it didn't happen. And I can understand because Meghan and Harry have previously embellished and plagiarized and used things for publicity stunts. I can understand why people will look at this and question whether or not this happened. But for the record, I don't think anybody would lie about this. That's my opinion. I respect anybody else's opinion. And some say, well, she's a raging narcissist. No end to the depths that they will dive. And I understand that and I respect that. That's what makes this community so wonderful, because we can discuss ideas and bounce off each other and open up our eyes to things that we may not have thought about. Now, the first article I'm going to draw your attention to is by Camilla Tominey. Now, she wrote in The Telegraph an article that was titled "Trolls on Both Sides Are Now Hijacking Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex Brave Miscarriage Story." In this article, she does go into detail about her own experience with losing a baby. She also says that she hopes that Harry and Meghan can find comfort in their 1-year-old son Archie. She also says that she both sympathises and empathises with what the Sussexes have been going through. She says that her only question is, why reveal this extraordinarily painful and personal trauma? She says that in Meghan's case, this is incredibly raw and recent. While I absolutely respect her right to share her agony in such a public way, I do wonder whether it was wise to do it in the middle of a privacy case. She continues in the article that the piece she has written for New York Times will only serve to further support the Mail on Sunday's defence that Meghan has repeatedly invaded her own privacy. She continues in another part, but I fear the central message is in danger of being lost, with the discussion now focusing on whether this was about seeking good publicity, when much of it has been so negative in recent weeks and months. Trolls on both sides are now hijacking what should be an important debate about miscarriage and turning it into something shameful and sinister. None of this supports Meghan's central message about looking out for others and making sure they're okay. And Camilla has a very valid point. Both Harry and Meghan must be duly aware of the toxicity that is social media and the topics that would have been discussed on there about this. They're not stupid, they're informed. And Camilla does raise a very valid point about the whole privacy element. She is going through a humongous privacy case and she releases this. Now, whether she did this for good, which who knows, or whether she did this for publicity, it just goes against her that she did this because it is so open, raw and honest. She's opened up, but unfortunately that will go against her in the privacy case. There was another amazing article in Spiked released this morning by Brendan O'Neill, who is the editor, and in it he makes some very, very valid points. I'm not going to read out the whole of the article because it is quite long, but I have put a link in the description box below. It starts with, it's very sad that Meghan Markle suffered a miscarriage. It's always sad when a happily expecting mother loses her baby. It's also strange, however, that Markle has chosen to write about the miscarriage in such an emotionally revealing detail in the front page of the New York Times. I thought Markle and Prince Harry wanted privacy, to be left alone by the voyeuristic media. And yet here is Markle inviting not only New York Times readers, but also people across the world to observe one of the most intimate moments of her life. She's inviting us right into her hospital room. In fact, where she's telling us that there were cold white walls and Harry's hand was clammy as they both wept from their loss. I've never felt more like an intruder into Harry and Meghan's life than I did reading Meghan's piece. Later in the article, he says when a tabloid newspaper publishes a surreptitiously taken photo of Meghan and her son taking a walk, that is an intolerable invasion of the Duchess's privacy. When the Mail on Sunday publishes a letter that Meghan wrote to her father and which her father freely gave to the Mail, that is an act of grotesque voyeurism. Yet when Markle herself opens the door to the innermost emotions and welcomes a vast global audience to observe her pain, that isn't felicitating voyeurism, apparently. No, it's brave and it's raising awareness. He continues, in which case, why do I feel like a voyeur reading Markle's piece? Why did I find myself wondering why I now know so much about Harry and Meghan's difficulties, pains and emotions? I've never particularly felt like a voyeur while looking at paparazzi shots of the Sussexes strolling around LA or discovering what Meghan's father thinks about their marriage. After all, getting papped is what celebs do, and Thomas Markle has as much right to put his side of the story as Meghan and her friends do. But knowing the precise circumstances in which Markle suffered her miscarriage, knowing what her son Archie was doing at the time, knowing about what she and Harry felt and did in that cold white hospital room. I don't want this information. It feels wrong. Markle has just exposed far more about her internal life than her father or any tabloid newspaper has ever done. It does go on for a fair few pages, and I'm not going to detail it, but it's much of the same, basically highlighting elements of them demanding privacy when in fact it looks like they want the complete opposite. And what this article has actually done has left a lot of people with questions, and a lot of people were actually expecting something like this, because we've had the race card and we've had the victim card, we've had the sympathy card, we've had the am I okay in Africa, we've had all of that, and now this is a card that trumps all the other cards, doesn't it? Like I said, I'm not questioning whether or not it happened. I'm questioning why this was needed, why we needed to step inside such a personal, intimate and an emotional time. With any other celeb, probably it would have been well received, but because they are so adamant about privacy, it just looks like it's been used for a PR stunt. I know that sounds cold and calculated, but unfortunately it does. We also have to legitimately look at the amount of Zoom calls and interviews and all sorts happened in July and August. They were very busy. But maybe that's a way that they cope. I can understand that. I really, really can. That might be why they did it. But to me, and to a lot of people out there, it does look a little bit fishy. A lot of people have spoken out in comment sections of the media, in Twitter. It's a mixed bag, really. But a lot of the reactions are from women who have suffered the same as Meghan Markle. And they have said that the issue that they have with this is the element of the article of shame and stigma. They said there was no shame, there was no stigma. They didn't feel that way, and they weren't made to feel that way. And the general consensus is I felt no shame. So did she do this looking for a collective sympathy after a disastrous PR stunt that went terribly wrong with regards to the memorial? Or is this a genuine cry to help women? Or was it just a PR strategy? You know, I have to mention that they have a brand new PR team behind them. And, you know, all of a sudden this gets dropped. But because of the sensitive issues, it is impossible to question anything with regards to the validity of this. And anybody that questions this will be used as an example by Harry and Meghan and their fans and the supporting media that stand with Harry and Meghan of how terrible social media can be. Look at what they're saying. Look at what they've done to me. They've turned this tragedy. But we have to legitimately look at whether this was a PR stunt or not. And the only reason I ask that question, it has to come back to privacy again. Charities are now hailing her for being a heroine because she she is so open and honest. But she's not the first royal to discuss miscarriage. Zara did. Sophie did. They've all gone before her. I think Angela Levin, who is a journalist and a royal commentator, summed it up with one perfect tweet. She said, Meghan's piece about her miscarriage and how she and Harry reacted is very moving, but why reveal such an intimate, private detail when claiming she wants privacy? Perhaps it's her wish to be a global figure and represent all women. I think those are quite wise words from Angela there. And then yesterday, which was Thanksgiving, up pops this information that has apparently been passed to pro-Meghan and Harry journalists. However did that happen, I wonder, about how they have spent Thanksgiving. Do you want to hear it? It's a good one. Of course, it was Omid Scooby-Dooby-Doo that released it. And of course, Jack Royston, who also released it. You know, he's just waiting for Omid to be markled. Then he's going to replace him in the #1 journalist to be fed information to the tabloids from the Harkles. They said they are going to have a quiet dinner at home and are looking forward to celebrating their first American Thanksgiving in the States as a family. They plan to enjoy a home-cooked meal with traditional Thanksgiving dishes, including recipes made from vegetables from their garden. Don't we all feel better for knowing that? There's that issue again, isn't it? Privacy. Do they actually know what privacy means? I think at this point we're getting so saturated with them, we just don't believe them anymore. We've heard more from them since they've been in America than we actually did when they were official royals, I believe. And as for growing vegetables in your garden, they only moved in July. I mean, unless it was an already established vegetable plot, I don't think vegetables can grow that quickly. I mean, lettuce could be quite quick growing, but that's about it, isn't it? I do find it very telling that they made sure that we were all aware how they were going to spend Thanksgiving, but they didn't drop it that they had called Charles on his birthday. That makes no sense. They seem to be feeding information very, very bizarrely and haphazardly. It's weird, isn't it? So I would love to know your thoughts on this video. What do you think about the 2 articles that I have raised? Do you think it was a publicity stunt? What do you think is going to happen next? Do you think that she is going to be heavily involved in women's issues now, and this is a way to actually cement her foot in the door? And what do you think of that really bizarre bit of information about how they spent Thanksgiving? As always, I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.